You are listening to Prophet Pearls with Nehemia Gordon and Keith Johnson, exploring biblical prophecy for yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Shalom, this is Nehemia Gordon. I'm with Keith Johnson, bringing you Prophet Pearls, recorded live in Jerusalem, a city under siege. A little over an hour ago, not far from the exact place where we're sitting right now recording this program, an Arab terrorist struck, wounding 5 people. And it really brings to, makes it real. We said we'll go anywhere and we won't be stopped. We're going to do this despite we were dealing with a Communist Party conspiracy to block our internet, intercontinental counterfeiting ring to rip off our program. And we said, we're not going to be stopped. We're going to do whatever it takes to do this, to bring you the Prophet Pearls. And we came here to Jerusalem, and this is real. This is as real as life gets.
Yeah, Nehemia, I'm a little sober right now, and we took a break. We're recording 2 or 3, maybe as many as 4 or 5 if we can, based on inspiration and time and energy. And it's no small thing. It's taking a lot of energy. I'm not feeling the best. Nehemia, even you fell down a little something last night, and I just have to say, Nehemia, it really does bring it to the forefront. I was on a bus yesterday on my way down to the old city, and people are celebrating Purim, and now on the day itself, just on this Friday, someone gets behind a wheel of a car, a terrorist gets behind the wheel of a car and tries to take out five people who are trying to protect the city, and it really. All this politics back and forth, it all comes down to, like you said, it's a city under siege. And, Yehovah will choose Jerusalem, but in the meantime, there's going to be some struggle, and there's got to be people that have to be willing to do what it takes to continue to be a witness as we are right now. And I want to say, folks, I'm going to make a little shift here. We do our little ministry minute each time, and I bet there's some people who's like, all right, get through that so I can get to the good stuff. I'm sure maybe there's some people who, skip it and don't listen to it. But I want to challenge people right now. I want to challenge people that have been listening. We've got thousands of people around the world. Some of them are able and some of them are not. But I really want to challenge people to listen to what we're saying regarding our ministries and what the needs are and what the issues are. And the opportunity for people to support us, because it's one thing to sit in your place of comfort and say, man, boy, that really blessed me. I just got a chance to open up the Word of God. But to actually be sitting here in Jerusalem and to listen to the sirens go back and forth and to know that we'll be out and about on buses and walking amongst people, and that there are people out there that would love nothing better than to take us out. I mean, I'm just, to be honest, Nehemia, it really is, it's humbling. And so when we talk about our ministry, I really want people to prayerfully to consider what we're talking about and how they can be supportive and how they can come alongside and help us. I feel really good about what we do, and I think that there's great value in what we do. And even neither of us at this point, neither of us are saying, well, we won't do it unless. We're going to do it, but there's a chance for people to come alongside. So We're going to get into this verse and talk about this. But here's what I want to do for my ministry minute.
Yeah.
I want to start with the ministry minute. I want you to stop the recording. Stop the recording. Not us.
We are no longer recording.
No. I want the people.
Okay.
Here's what I need you to do. I mean, maybe this will challenge you, and maybe it won't, Nehemia. But for me, this is really serious, because we have the number of things that we're working on right now that are really, 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 really important. One of them, as it pertains to even what's going on here in the land of Jerusalem, I sat down with my friend Yehuda Glick, who's presently, maybe it's still at the time that we were here, he's basically under siege in an apartment. He can't even go into a public hospital to do his rehab, just because of the people that are so intent on taking him out. But we've been very serious about putting together the last 2 years a project that I've been working on, and he's really challenging me not to take a soft approach, but really to continue to do the work to bring forth the cause of the freedom to pray on the Temple Mount, and how that fits with what Isaiah says, that it will be a place of prayer for all nations. You said something really important that sounds really way off topic. And I was talking to you about how people separate in Christianity and the heritage I come from. They separate any importance of what happened at the Temple Mount. And you actually said something. I don't want to, Nehemia, I hope this people take this the right way. But you said, it's really interesting how sometimes people focus on certain aspects of his life and ministry, but they don't put it in context. One of the issues regarding his life and ministry, speaking of Yeshua, is where he taught at the Temple Mount and why he taught at the Temple Mount and what the significance of that is. So for me, I just want to say I want people to stop the recording Go to bfainternational.com and ask yourself, what can you do to help us continue to do what we're doing? One thing that's available right now is for you to learn a little biblical Hebrew right on the front page, become a part of the premium content library, which is going to help us produce the things that I believe that can be life-changing for people. So do that. Go to bfainternational.com. After you sign up to the premium content library, then come back and you'll hear about what we're talking about in this next section of Prophet Pearls. That's my ministry minute.
Okay, yeah. And, I really, I think people think like, sign up for premium content library or join the support team. This is just about money. And I know for me, it's not just about money. There are definitely bills that need to be paid. There's no question about that. And that takes money, no question. But for me, it really is about, when I say support team, I mean people who really support my ministry. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you're in the ministry with me. You're part of it. And I appreciate that. When I'm doing these studies, and I'll sometimes spend, literally dozens of hours doing research to record one of these studies. I call them the raw stream of Torah consciousness. And but I'll it won't be scripted, but I'll prepare for it, collecting sources and translating sources and tracking down information. And really it's my way of saying thank you for people who've come and entered into the ministry with me. What I've always been about is empowering people with information, and people who have come into the ministry with me, and they've become part of the support team. I want to help them get to that next level, and that's really what it's about for me. It's not about it really isn't. The money. It really is. I've actually had people who say, "Look, I don't want to be on your support team, but I want to buy that study that you've done." And I say, "Well, it's not for sale. You want to join?"
Amen.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so it really, truly is about and I've had people who say, "Look, I don't have any money. I'm living on welfare. I'm and I'm like, okay, well, would you support me in prayer?" Mm-hmm. And I have a number of people who are part of the support team through prayer. Mm-hmm. Of course, like we said, it does take resources. We want to get this message out, and things like editing, like we're doing right now. You're hearing this, and believe it or not, this is edited. Somebody worked a lot on this.
Energy,
not to mention, we had to fly over here, and there's all kinds of expenses. A lot of it, I heard this speech by Netanyahu recently. Mm-hmm. This is pre-recorded. Netanyahu just a few days ago gave his speech, and he said something really interesting. He said, there's the things everybody knows about between America and the United States, but then there's all kinds of things going on that nobody ever hears about. And I really thought, like, wow, isn't that a picture of my ministry? Yeah. There's so much that people will never hear about, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Isn't that something? And this is an example. I want to say thank you to our friends, the servants of El Elyon Most High, two people that have supported a number of our Prophet Pearl programs, and people like them and others that have done the Maccabees and many of the other people that are doing it. We it's not like we're sitting here saying we don't have support. We do, and that's why we're able to do what we're doing. And we want to continue to say to those of you that come alongside, thank you. Thank you to our Prophet Pearl partners. Thank you to all the people that have come alongside. And I think we've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to need more people. And I don't mind saying that. We need more people. At BFA International, Nehemia's Wall, McCore Hebrew Foundation, we need a whole lot more people to do what we're doing. So thank you for those that are, and hopefully you'll prayerfully consider, taking a look at both sites and finding out how you can come alongside. We're in Joshua chapter 2, and it's funny, Nehemia, we were talking before we started, and we're like, didn't we discuss this? And most of our discussions are biblical. I don't know if you know it or not. We get into the Bible, and we're just talking, and we're thinking, did we record that? Did we discuss that?
Well, I'm sure we discussed it. I guess we probably didn't record it.
Yeah. We're actually in Joshua chapter 2. Love this book. I really, really love this book. I love everything about this book. I love what it represents. There's actually a parallel with where we're dealing with the Torah pearls, original Torah pearls, in the section in Numbers where the spies were sent, and we have now an example of a resending of the spies. And I use the word the dispensation, the time of Joshua.
Can you tell a simple Jew what dispensation means?
It's a period of time. Okay. I'll call it a period of time.
All right. So I feel like this is some loaded theological concept.
No. I'm actually just talking. We're actually in the beginning here in Joshua chapter 2, verse 1. Same thing with the Hebrew and also in the English. And I'm going to read this. It's really a story, Nehemia, and I have to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can look at things and like, what's the hidden meaning here? What's the deep, biblical, theological, whatever. This just seems to me like one of these just great stories that it is what it is. So let's just start, if it's okay. Joshua, the son of Nun, sent 2 men as spies secretly from Shittim, saying, go view the land, especially in Jericho. So they went and came into the house of a harlot whose name was Rahab, and they lodged there. We are what it would take us 45 minutes, maybe an hour to get to the place where this happened.
To Jericho?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we took the road to Jericho.
Well, without traffic, we could do it in 35 minutes.
35 minutes. We've done that many times. We've driven by there many times. And again, it's a struggle for me to be stuck in this place, in this apartment, because we're so many places. We could go drive there right now and do the show from there. But in order to get this done, we really got to stay focused. But there, he's coming. He's crossed the Jordan, and now they're sending people into this place called Jericho. And that's one of the places he says he's sending the 2 men as spies. But then it says, in English, it says, view the land, especially Jericho. And is that because that's the first place they're going to have to address? What do you think?
Well, I mean, they're going to cross the Jordan River, and the place where they're crossing the Jordan River, they're opposite of Jericho in Transjordan. Mm-hmm. So and the place where they're crossing it is right next to Jericho. You know, it's
so something though. But like I'm not in the United States hearing about this, but actually having been there and seen it and looking and saying, yeah, you cross the Jordan, and there off in the distance you see present day Jericho, which by the way, in Nehemia, a year ago we were there, and there are actually stones that have been uncovered.
You were in Jericho.
Yeah, actually in Jericho. I tell you a funny story. Yeah. So we're on a tour. Yeah. We're on the tour bus. We got the big tour bus, and we got the Israeli tour guide, and we're over at the Jordan. And I say to the tour guide, I say, "Man, we're so close to Jericho. Could we just go?" And he says, "Well, it's a little illegal for me." This is really funny. Yeah. He says, a little illegal for me to go in there. And why is it illegal for him to go into Jericho? Can you tell the people?
Because he's Israeli, and the Arabs will kidnap him.
Okay.
So it's actually against the law for an Israeli.
Why is it against the law? Yes.
Because Jericho is actually, and I say this, it breaks my heart to say it. It's a sad thing for me. It's not part of the state of Israel. It's part of the land of Israel, but Jericho today is part of something called the Palestinian Authority. Mm-hmm. It was ripped off from Israel in 1994 and given away to the Arabs. Mm. And so today it's ruled by these terrorists from the PLO. And if I were to go in there and they found out I was Israeli, they would murder me. And, you'd be seeing me in one of these videos with Jihadi John. I mean,
So we're in the bus, and my tour guide says, "Okay, look, we're going to go to Jericho. You want to go to take your people to Jericho?"
Off the bus.
No, you know what he did? Uh-oh. He says, "I'm going to go sit in the back. You're the tour guide."
Oh. So
they let me be in the front of the bus. Are you kidding me? I'm in the front of the bus. I've got the microphone. I'm the tour guide taking the group into Jericho.
I stuck my chest out,
and I talked, and I said I spoke in Arabic and Hebrew. No, it was really something to be there. But what was most important about it, Nehemia, was to actually go into Jericho and to actually see the stones. I mean, I get the chills. I mean, you know about this.
And I've been to Jericho. I was in Jericho before it was given away to the Arabs back in 1993 or 4. It was given away in 94, and I was there like weeks before it was given away. Mm. And for me, it's the one and only time I've ever been to Tel Jericho or the ancient mound of Jericho, where, like you said, you see the walls. And presumably the walls we're seeing aren't the walls that fell down, because the walls we're seeing are still standing. Right. I think the walls we're seeing are from the Middle Bronze period, if I'm not mistaken, and these are from the Late Bronze period. But it's an amazing sight. And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I was back in 93 or 94 in Tel Jericho, and I'm walking around, and I do what I do, and there's some kind of little gate that says don't go beyond this point, and I go beyond it, and I'm walking in this area where you're not supposed to go, which had been heavily excavated. I'm actually like deep in this pit, and I actually found this jar handle broken off from a pottery jar, and there was some kind of writing on it, and I've never been able to decipher it, but it has some kind of, and I still have it today.
What do you mean you still have it? Where is it?
It's in my storage room over in Jerusalem. Do you understand we could
sell that and we'd be able to continue doing
No, I'm keeping it.
No, but Nehemia, I think the point is, for me, is just that this is a physical place, that it's there, and that you can actually see it with your own two eyes. Depending on who you are, makes it a little easier depending on who you are. But it's a sad, like you say, it's a sad story.
Well, and the reason that they crossed at Jericho is one, that's an easy place to cross the Jordan River. Mm-hmm. To this day, there's a bridge bridge over there, the I think it's the Allenby Bridge, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And number two is you have a large open plain there. And remember, we were talking about 600,000 men, so it's like 2 or 3 million people. Mm-hmm. You need a lot of space for 2 or 3 million people. If you were to try to cross further north, there's a lot of hills. Mm-hmm. And so you'd have people like on this side of the hill and that side. It would get complicated. It's much easier to cross.
The geography of it actually
the geography is you want to cross at the plains of Jericho. Yeah. That's the place to
And
cross.
What's interesting about this is that they send the two spies secretly. I mean, this is, there's 600,000 or more people on the other side of the Jordan. They knew they were coming. Yeah. But they went and we find that in the story. I mean, basically, they know something's changing. So it says it was told the king of Jericho, saying, "Behold, men from the sons of Israel." Now think about it. Yeah. These two men go to Rahab, and they lodge there. And it was told the king of Jericho, "Behold, men from the sons of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land." Now, how does that happen? I mean, in other words, do the two men... Now, it clearly says...
Word got out.
It clearly says... Go seek. They went secretly. Yeah. And when the next verse...
Actually, it says quietly.
Quietly. Well,
silently.
Okay, silently. Well, obviously, maybe they got to the lodging place of Rahab and had a... Who knows what happened? But somehow...
Word got out. I want to make a little comment here, and this might seem like really esoteric to some people, very confusing to some people, but I got to say it. So that first word in verse 2, the word that we have maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of times in Tanakh, and it's the word vayomer, and he said. And here, instead of vayomer, we have vaye'amar.
Yes.
And vaye'amar is the passive form of vayomer. And it literally means, and it was said. So it was said. And how do you know? And really, you could read this without a problem. And he said to the king of Jericho, saying, and who said? Whoever said. I mean, you have things like that where things are said and we don't know who said it.
That is amazing.
So why is it Vayamar? Just that's what's written. This is what's interesting to me. I deal with people all the time who say, "Oh, those vowels, those Masorite Jews, they made up the vowels, and we don't, and we want to read the Paleo Hebrew, and there's no vowels." So if you're reading the Paleo Hebrew, you don't know if this is "and he said" or "and it was said." And you might say it doesn't matter here, but there's a lot of verses where it does matter.
Absolutely.
A lot of verses where it completely changes the meaning by changing the vowels. And it's interesting that the vowels may not have been written down, but they were fixed at a very early period. And I've talked about in my book, Shattering the Conspiracy of Silence, about how we give a couple of... Actually, a few weeks ago from when we're recording this, the mayor of Jerusalem got involved. There was a terrorist attack, and he got involved and stopped the terrorists with his own two hands. And do you remember what the mayor of Jerusalem's name is?
Well, it's funny because you can say Birkat or Bereket, and I always get confused on which one is.
Right. Right. And that's because the word Barkat or Bereket means carbuncle. It's a type of precious stone, and it appears once in Ezekiel and once in Exodus, I believe it is. And in one of the passages, it's Bereket, and the other it's Barkat. And what it shows, and we actually had a guy at Hebrew University that explained this to us. I wasn't aware of this. That what this shows is that there was a fixed tradition of how to read the word in each passage. It wasn't that they said, "Oh, this is the word that we say in our language as bareket, so every time we see it, we'll put the vowels in bareket." But actually that the tradition was this ancient reading tradition that when you get to this passage, you read it bareket, but in that passage it's barkat, and that apparently represents a difference of pronunciation in two different periods of history that's being preserved between the time of Exodus and the time of Ezekiel. It's amazing that level of precision is being preserved in the vowels. So it's not so easy to just dismiss these vowels and throw them out, because then you really open up Scripture to all kinds of wild speculation. And I've heard people who come up with the wildest things based on ignoring the vowels.
You know what's funny, Nehemia? We were looking at this, and this is one of these words. When if I would just take a casual look at that word, I would immediately say Vayomer. And again, by you saying, let's slow down and take a look at the vowels and the consonants, the jots, the tittles, every aspect of that, it really is humbling. And I do want to say, you said it kind of casually. We sat with a man and talked to him about the vowels. But we actually sat with one of the world's foremost scholars on the Aleppo Codex.
The foremost scholar.
Foremost scholar on the Aleppo Codex. Yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. This guy, it wasn't Nehemia.
No, it wasn't.
No, but Nehemia, I want to stop and say something about this. We've talked about it individually. Certainly, you can see some conversations about it. But what is so cool is that those little jots and those little dashes and those little things there actually do make all the difference in the world. And he said something like,
It's as if an angel wrote it.
He says if an angel wrote it. He's talking about the Aleppo Codex, which is a vocalized text where they have the vowels and they have the consonants. And not to send too much of a push again, but people can learn what those are, and that really is that's an exciting study. But it was told, the king of Jericho saying, "Behold, men from the sons of Israel have come here tonight to search." So obviously the secret is out. Yeah. How the secret got out, I don't know, but it definitely is out. Yeah. And the king of Jericho sent word to Rahab. So obviously he knows where they are. Right. Saying, "Bring out the men who've come to you, who've entered your house." And it makes me think, actually. Yeah. So here these two guys show up. Maybe it's a pub or whatever this. An inn. And there always are other people around. And so these are two guys that maybe they're not dressed the same.
And just to state what we've talked about, and I know we talked about this at some point, but she was a prostitute, and in the Aramaic it's translated as an innkeeper. And the two are actually the same thing. Back then, the inn is where the prostitute, if we think about like in the Old West, you go to the inn and there's prostitutes there. It's one of the services they provide. And why do they provide it? Because there's beds available. Where else are they going to provide it? And this was just part of especially the Canaanite culture, that when you're at an inn, there's going to be a prostitute, and that's a great place for a traveler to stay. Meaning, if they'd go anywhere else, they'd be like, "Wait, you're foreigners. What are you doing here?" Whereas they thought they could slip by being at the inn because nobody would notice. But somebody did notice.
Yeah, and it's funny. You got to wonder. So were there specific instructions or not? Did they just do it?
How did they identify them?
That's what I'm saying. Like, could it have been their clothes? Could it have been
maybe they looked different?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe they look completely different.
Maybe it was the color of their skin.
Maybe
we actually don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, but somehow, some way, the locals found out that the two spies were there. Yeah, the two witnesses had entered the city.
The two witnesses.
But the woman had taken the two men and hidden them, and she said, "And who's the woman? Rahab." Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. It came about.
Whoa,
go ahead.
I want to talk about, and she hid them. So in Hebrew, it actually says, "and she hid him." And that's really interesting. The Septuagint changes it to "she hid them," because just like you did. It makes sense. She hid him. There's two of them.
There's two men.
Right. So what's going on? Septuagint is probably just fixing this problem. But what happened here? So this is a big deal. So the rabbis come along and they say, "Oh, well, the two witnesses, or the two spies,
and the two witnesses.
No, that's a different thing. The two spies were Caleb and Pinchas." Now, it doesn't say that in the Tanakh, but this is what the rabbis say. She hid Caleb, and Pinchas turned into an angel, and she didn't need to hide him. And I hear that, and I'm like, I kind of laugh. But it really is just the rabbis, they're struggling with this question. Why does it say she hid him and not them? And one possibility is, one of the medieval commentators says she hid each one by himself. And that's why it says she hid him. She hid one here and the other one over there. Yeah. What's the real answer? And I think the real answer is that this is an allusion to another passage, possibly. I'm just throwing this out there. Exodus chapter 2, verse 2. When Miriam hides Moses, it says the exact same thing. She hid him. And there might be a connection there. Meaning it's we have here this image of a woman who's hiding a man who is an important man that is part of Yehovah's plan, and maybe that's Rahab hiding the two spies.
Could you find some really cool grammatical issues, some like collective singular or something? Couldn't you come up with some new thing?
So the collective singular doesn't work here because it would if there were a category here. If it was the category of man, of human, or the category of you can't say the category of spy. I guess you could, but.
We couldn't come up with something like that.
No,
All right. Well, it's an issue.
Yeah, it's an issue.
An unresolved issue.
Yeah.
We don't feel the need to fix it.
Nope.
Okay. So the men came to me, but I did not know where they came from. And then it says here in Joshua 2:5, it came about. You all know the story. Maybe if you don't, we're going to read it. When it was time to shut the gate at dark, and I think this is interesting. This is a city that's behind a wall. Yeah. And there's the gate. And we find this in the book of Nehemia, I believe it is, where, at a certain time, there's the gate that shuts and there's time for...
Well, so maybe I'm stating the obvious, but every city back then was behind a wall. By definition, if it wasn't behind a wall, it wasn't a city, it was a village. And what would happen is that there wasn't a strong central government in Israel in most periods of history, let's put it that way. And so if bandits would come along from the countryside and you weren't behind a wall, they would attack you. And even if there was a strong central government, which let's say in the time of Solomon, for example, is a very strong central government, What if foreigners invade? Then you need to get behind the wall. And this is what would happen. There'd be an invasion by, let's say, the Egyptians in the time of Solomon, and everybody who's out in the villages where there isn't a wall, they come into the city for defense. And it was very difficult for them to knock down those walls or breach the walls. It was possible, but it took a lot.
Yeah.
So the wall was a really good way to for defense. I think it's interesting that they would close the gate at night. And why at night? Because that's when the bandits come out. Yeah. That's when the prowlers come out.
Makes
and
sense.
if you're inside the city, then you can be defended from that.
Yep. So she sends them on a wild goose chase. She basically says they've already left. Go out quickly, and you will overtake them.
Can I just read one little passage? You said the book of Nehemiah. So Nehemiah chapter. So my namesake Nehemia, he built the wall, and that's why my ministry is. My website is nehemiaswall.com. Nehemia chapter 13, verse 9. No, that's the wrong verse. Sorry, verse 19. So Nehemiah, he has this issue with these people who don't want to keep Shabbat. They want to buy and sell on the Shabbat. And it says, Nehemiah 13:19, it says, this is the JPS, when shadows filled the gateways of Jerusalem at the approach of the Sabbath, I gave orders that the doors be closed and ordered them not to be opened until after the Shabbat. So what we're seeing here is as it's getting dark, as it starts to get dark or it's about to get dark, they shut the gates of the city. And that's significant because clearly Shabbat begins when it gets dark. And why do I say that? There's some people out there today who have come up with this theory that Shabbat should begin at sunrise. And because it says the day of the Shabbat, so they say that's not nighttime. And I say, that's seriously, guys? But anyway, this proves definitively, Nehemiah 13:19, that Shabbat begins when it gets dark. Otherwise, why shut the gates at night? Leave it till the morning, and they can do all this commerce for another 12 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in this situation, they shut the gate at dark, that the men went out, and I do not know when it says she's saying that. It came about when it was time to shut the gate at dark, that the men went out. I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them. So she sends them on this
wild goose chase.
Yeah, but she had brought them up at the roof and hid them, and this is the
and here it says them.
Yeah, and here it says them. So whether it was whatever it was that happened, we clearly we're back to them. In the stalks of the flax. Which she had laid in under. There's got to be some spiritual meaning for what kind of place they were hidden. Surely you've got to come up with something, Nehemia. I mean, this just can't be that clear.
The numerical value of the word flax. No, I got nothing.
It says ha'etz.
It says pishte ha'etz or pishte ha'etz.
Yeah, which she had laid in order on the roof. So basically, they're hidden.
Yeah,
they're hidden under the tree of life. And then
that's your spiritual explanation.
Boy, we are definitely. So anyway, but it says so the men pursued them on the road to the Jordan to the fords, and when it says that to the Jordan to the fords, so are they going back toward the Jordan where the Israelites were soon going to cross over?
Oh, this is a wild goose chase. First, they're going west to the mountains, and they're going east back. They didn't find them going west, so they said, "Okay, let's turn east now." And it isn't that big of a distance. Like we're talking like a few miles. That entire plain of Jericho is only a few miles wide. Maybe, it's not that big. So they went one direction, they couldn't find them, and they went the other direction. And the truth is, they could be hidden somewhere in the mountains, and they'll never find them. But they felt, okay, we didn't get them that way, let's find them. And maybe they were good trackers, and that's how they knew.
Well, the verse that kind of caught my attention, Nehemia, to be honest with you, is when Rahab speaks. And we see this happen over again, over and over again. We saw this with Naaman, and we saw this with other, people that are not Israel who come and they use these words. And it says here, I know that, and then it says qoof-vav-hei. It doesn't say Adonai. It doesn't say Hashem. She says, the prostitute, I know. Boy, I don't know if I'm going to let you do this controversy here. Boy, should I do this? Let me think about this. We might need to shut off the recording and let me think about it. She says, the prostitute, I know that Yehovah has given you the land. Now, she's speaking the name.
Yeah.
A prostitute is speaking the name. And you did something really, really controversial, Nehemia.
What's that?
You shared a video bringing into modern times where people in modern times of Israel were speaking the name. But the person that was speaking the name, she didn't look Orthodox. She didn't look holy. She didn't look religious. But she spoke the name just the way it's written. And she kind of, can I say this? She normalized it. Like... And Rahab in this situation, I don't want her to be the prostitute. I want her to be some, maybe
she must be in the temple, immersed in water and wearing special garments, and
maybe she's an Israelite who's, I will be honest with you.
She was an Israelite who escaped from Egypt and set up a hotel in Jericho. She was not actually a prostitute.
Exactly. And instead...
We can explain it away, but it is what it is. She was a whore who said the name of Yehovah, and she knew biblical doctrine better than these two Israelites. And that's the message. That's the point of the story, that this prostitute from Jericho, who's a pagan heathen, and let's point out something else. Prostitute back then also may have had a religious connotation. In other words,
when shrine prostitute.
It doesn't use the word kadeshah, but that word zonah, that prostitute, she also may have also. In other words, let's put it this way: when you were having. When you were involved with her, they also viewed this as a holy union between the god and the goddess. Mm. So they didn't think of this as sin. They actually thought of it as a very righteous thing. The Canaanites, and so this woman, she knows biblical doctrine better than the spies. I mean, look what she says. She says, "For the fear of you, or the terror of you, has fallen upon us."
Wait, why do you throw the spies under the bus? They haven't said anything that they don't know that. I mean,
what do you mean? They're coming to. What do you? Well, let's go back to the beginning of the story. Why did he send the spies? On some level, he's not sure. He's saying, we got to go find out what the people are thinking. Mm. Instead of saying, who cares what the people are thinking? Yehovah is behind us. We defeated the Egyptians. These guys are ants compared to the Egyptians. Why are we going and spying out the land? And look, I mean, it's hard for me to read this without thinking about the parallel passages in Numbers and Deuteronomy, where the people sent the spies, and they were kind of supposed to, but then they really weren't. Because it was a sign of distrust. Mm-hmm. And the report they brought back showed, look, no matter what the information, we're going to be negative. You know what and I want to go back to the story of Netanyahu giving the speech. Can we do that for a second? Because remember the original story of the spies? They come back and they say, this is such an amazing land. There's so much produce in it. The people are so blessed in this land that we have no chance against them. Instead of saying the people are so blessed that there's so much riches in this land that we're going to get that too when we conquer the land. Isn't this great? They're always looking for the negative. And Netanyahu gave this speech, and there was this American politician. She comes along and she says this was insulting to us because we knew the things that he said. So what are you really saying? You're upset that he said things you agree with? Like, wait a minute. If you didn't agree with it, then you should be upset. Mm-hmm. But he comes along and says things you agree with, and that's why you're upset. It reminds me of the verse in Proverbs. It says, "Love covers all transgressions, but hate raises up strife," or something like that. And the point is, if you hate somebody, if you're negative about someone in the first place, you're going to look for the negative. And that's what the spies were doing back in the book of Numbers. They were looking for the negative. No matter what they saw, they would have found the negative. Well, and the point is that, look, didn't we learn our lesson about spies? Why are we sending these spies?
Well, here's the thing I want to say, though. I want to say this. I want to give a little shout out to my friend Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
Because basically
Joshua the son of Nun?
Yes, Joshua the son of Nun. I call him my friend because he understood what it meant to be strong and courageous, and he is actually one of those that came back with a good report. He came back and said, look, we can do this. And I actually think there's something really important about this, that he did send the two there. He doesn't say to go there and see if. He says, go to this place, view the land, especially Jericho. That's all he says. Go view the land, especially Jericho. He didn't say go there and give us a report. He said go and view the land. What I think is really interesting, though, and back to this verse where Rahab says, she says that, so they pursued, she says, let me get the verse. We have heard. She's talking about first, verse 2:9. This is just great testimony out of the mouth of a prostitute. I know that Yehovah has given you the land. I know that Yehovah has given you the land, and that the terror of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land have melted away before you. The report has gone out. CNN has already made the report, whether it's secret or not or public. Look, the Israelites are coming. God has given.
And she goes on, verse 10. For we heard.
For we heard, and that's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
We've heard the good. We've heard this testimony. And what's the testimony?
Not good news for them.
No. What's the testimony? Yehovah has dried up the water of the Red Sea. In other words, now news is working. It's going all the way. And this is a testimony of just what He's done. The Red Sea before you, when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the two kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, which we also talked about, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And then 2:11, she's still testifying. When we heard it, our hearts melted, and no courage remained in us. No, and actually the word there is ruach. No spirit. no breath, no wind. I mean, he took the wind out of our sails, remained in any person any longer because of you. For Yehovah your God, he is God. Man, she's testifying.
She's like Elijah, Yehovah-hei Elohim.
She's saying Yehovah-hei Elohim in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now, I mean, before we go any further, I just want to say, I think this is an example of when we say, we talked earlier about how the nations, or who are those nations that will be called by his name? Who are those people? This is the awakening, Nehemia, that took place back then. How can a prostitute be awakened and be aware and be at this place where she can say, we know that Yehovah, he is God. And what an amazing story. Mm-hmm. She's testifying. And I think this is the kind of thing we're going to see even in our lifetime. And we've seen it where the person, you just think, who is this person? I mean, is she going to stay in that place? I think she becomes pretty important even in the actual legacy of, as we hear about Rahab later in Scripture. But basically, her words in the position that she's in are a testimony of just how big Yehovah is and who he's able to reach.
Yeah, and I read this, and the first thing I think of is Exodus 16, the Song of the Sea, in verses 14 to 16, Exodus 15. It says, the people hear, they tremble. Agony grips the dwellers in Philistia. Mm-hmm. Now are the clans of Edom dismayed. The tribes of Moab, trembling grips them. All the dwellers in Canaan are aghast. Terror and dread descend upon them. Through the might of your arm, they are still as stone. Till your people cross over, O Yehovah, till your people cross, whom you have ransomed. That was the JPS translation. But she's clearly echoing to me, well, I guess it's her reality, but it's the same reality echoed in Exodus 15. She uses actually a very specific word in verse 15 referencing the Canaanites. Mm-hmm. She says, Namogu kol yoshvei Canaan, all the inhabitants of Canaan have melted. That word namogu. Mm. It's exact same word in Joshua 2:9. It says, V'chi namogu kol yoshvei haaretz mipnechem, all the inhabitants of the land have melted before you. So it's the same exact word she's using. That can't be a coincidence to me. And this is actually repeated by the spies in verse 24 in their report to Joshua. They say, and also all the inhabitants of the land have melted before us. Yeah. And to me, as I read this, and you may disagree, my read of this is that Rahab, she's got more faith in Yehovah than these Israelites. Her faith, why is that? And here's the irony. Her faith is based on their experience that she heard about. They and their fathers experience it themselves, but for some reason they lack confidence in Yehovah.
Now, you got to help me with this, Nehemia. Yeah. You're so tough on the Israelites.
I am.
No, I want to know why you're tough on these two guys.
Because I read the story. Oh. No, I read the story about how they went through the Red Sea, and then they say, you took us out for us to die in the desert. No, you took us out of the desert, but of slavery. Now what do we eat?
So can I use the word dispensation?
Now we've got something to eat. What do we drink? And she hears this and she's like, "Look, game over. It's the end of the story. He dried up the sea and defeated and took you out of slavery." Why are we doubting him? We've got no doubt. We know that we're.
Are you talking
cooked.
about the Numbers Israelites or the Joshua Israelites? I think the Joshua Israelites are a different generation. The Joshua Israelites are not taking the approach of the other ones. These guys didn't come back and say, "Oh, it's too big." I mean, I think you got to give these guys a different. You got to give them a different approach. These two that are here, these two spies that are here. I
don't agree.
What have they said? What have they said that says to you they don't have faith? What have they said that says to you that they're not?
Can we skip to verses 24 through 26?
Not yet.
25? Okay. So you won't let me answer.
Okay. Okay. Up until this point, she's talking about them and she's saying, she's making the statement, therefore, and then she gets to 2:12 and she says, now therefore, please swear to me by Yehovah, since I have dealt kindly with you, that you will deal kindly with my father's household. And then it says these words. And I guess I should let you, we can jump ahead.
Well, so at the end, they're repeating what she said. They should have known this before they went out as spies. That look, we got, we know, we're still singing the Song of the Sea. God melted the hearts of the Canaanites. And look, you could say, well, maybe that was 40 years ago, and maybe it's maybe they forgot. And the point here is they didn't forget even after 40 years. They imagine you're a Canaanite. If you're an Israelite, you're going through this 40 years of agony in the desert with the manna, which is disgusting, and they're sick of eating it, and there's no variety. But imagine you're a Canaanite, and they're wandering around that desert, and they're probably just a few days' journey. We're told they're 11 days' journey if they go straight. I think that's what it says.
Yep.
Anyway, so but anyway, even with the entire group, if they just went straight to Israel, what are they, a week or two away?
Well, there were 12 in Numbers. There are two in Joshua. I think these two go.
Well, why are there two? Because he probably thought we tried to 12. We only needed two of them. Maybe, I don't know.
No. I got it. Anyways, but here I want to ask a question, because in English it says here, is kindly with my father's house. Will you deal kindly with my father's household? Yeah. And then in English it says, give me a pledge of truth. It says here,
what verse are you in?
Emet, this is Joshua chapter 2, verse 12.
Okay.
It's funny, because when I look at what she says here, it's almost like I'm thinking, is she saying, give me a sign? Is she saying, give me something to let me know? In other words, you're going to swear by Yehovah. She knows that's a big deal. I mean, here she knows about swearing in Yehovah's name.
I'm telling you, this woman knows biblical theology better than the Israelites. Go on.
Anyway, so that she says that you also deal kindly with my father's house, and give me these words. Give unto me ot emet,
a true sign.
A true sign. Yeah,
that could be a miracle.
It could be a sign. A miracle.
That same word in Hebrew could mean a miracle. Mm-hmm. It could be, although what we see she gave is a red, the red string.
Yeah, we're going to go on to that. And spare my father and my mother and my brothers and my sisters and everybody that's connected to me. I want the whole house. I want everyone saved. Yeah. And all who belong to them. She reminds me a little bit of Noah. It's like bringing in the people. We see this idea of not just her. It isn't just her. She's saying, can you please help me with my father, my mother, my brothers, and my sisters, with all who belong to them? Wow, how many people could we could be talking about? Who knows how many? And deliver our lives, or save us, deliver our lives from death. Now, you tell me in verse 14 about these two unbelieving Israelites, what they say. No, I'm really frustrated with you about the Joshua generation.
You shouldn't have sent them.
What are you talking about?
He should not have sent these spies. After everything they experienced, he's still playing the spy game. I'm sorry. That's
you think it's a spy game, or is he going and saying, look, we haven't gone this way yet. Go and look at the land. He doesn't say go and see.
Yeah, but they don't say, what's the best approach to Jericho? Is it from the north or the west? What they say is, look, tell us, what's the morale of the country? That's what we want to know. Are you guys going to be able to stand up against us? Or are you terrified? He's asking about the morale. That's what the spies are asking about, and that's because I'm just reading this, and it seems to me they just don't have enough faith in Yehovah.
And the reason I'm going to disagree with you is the text says this. Verse 14, so the men said to her, our life for yours, if you do not tell this business of ours, and it shall come about, when Yehovah gives us the land, that we will deal kindly and faithfully with you. Yeah,
because that's after they heard her testimony, now they're convinced.
You're thinking,
no, and this is the point. They weren't convinced until they heard what she had to say.
You want to start a denomination, the Rahabite denomination.
You've already got that one. They're called Methodists.
Oh, you take it back right on radio. You take it back. You apologize right now. The Methodists are not the Rahab. Okay, no.
I don't know what that means.
So anyway,
that means to you.
She said to them, go to the hill country, so that the pursuers will not happen upon you. I mean, she's really being strategic here. And hide yourselves there for 3 days. 3 days. 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the 3 days. When the 3 days come up in Scripture over and over again, I took 3 days and 2 nights for me to get my luggage. But in the third day, my luggage came. On the third day, it came about. So she says to them, 3 days.
Yeah, okay. No. So where did they flee? Give me a geography lesson.
So, to the hill country?
Yeah.
So wow. So they're fleeing to the north?
Well, no. The hill country is west. So they're going west, not obviously. If you're in Jericho and you're fleeing in the direction of the hills, you're fleeing to Jerusalem.
Toward Jerusalem.
So they were for 3 days somewhere in a cave, hiding out somewhere, maybe not in Jerusalem, but in the area around Jerusalem.
You think they went that far?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Because pretty soon, just beyond Jericho, the hills are there.
Oh, yeah. The hills are within a few miles, even less than a few miles of Jericho. Mm-hmm. Today, Jericho goes all the way up to the hills. Back then, it would have been, it's not that far. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you think they went to the Jebusite hill country? The Jebusites?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they went that far. But anyway, maybe there's a spiritual significance. Flee to Jerusalem. I don't know. For 3 days. I don't know.
Sometimes you're so conservative, and then
then
you come up with this kind of stuff that makes me think that you really do get a little spiritual.
Where they
get a little spiritual sometimes.
Where they are fleeing is in the direction of the Judean desert.
Exactly.
And there's in that Judean desert, there's a lot that happens there. That's a great place.
Mm-hmm. Well, the men said to her, "We shall be free from this oath. We shall be clean from this oath. We will be released from this oath." What word do we have there? We got to get to a word of
Nikim.
Yeah,
clean.
We'll be clean. I mean, is that something you are? Do you like that word or no?
I like that.
Okay, can you tell us what it is?
I don't want that to be the word of the week.
You don't want that to be the word of the week? The men said to her, "We shall be free from this oath to which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land to take it, because God gave it to us, and walk out our faith, you tie this cord of scarlet thread in the window through which you let us down." Okay. "And gather to yourself unto the house your father and your mother and your brothers and all your father's household." These are the men of faith speaking. "It shall come about that anyone who goes out of the doors of your house," man, it sounds like the angels back at the time of when he keeps Lot inside, but don't go out. And anyway,
or the other association for me is the plague of the firstborn. Mm-hmm. And what did they put? They put blood at the entrance, and there's a red string.
Wow! And this is obviously it's not a string because he let him down by it. Must be a rope, huh?
Rope, whatever. Yeah,
it can't be a string, Nehemia. If you say string, how do you? These guys couldn't be like ants. It had to be like some kind of big rope.
It's a big string. I don't know.
"And his blood shall be in his own head. And we shall be free, but anyone who is with you in the house, his blood shall be on your head." And this discussion of blood, the color, the red, pretty interesting. If a hand is laid on him. "But if you tell this business of ours, then we shall be free." Now he says this again. Mm-hmm. "You have to what you made us swear.
Yeah.
According to your words, so be it." So she sent them away. And they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord, is what it says here.
Yeah.
The scarlet cord, is that what it says? The scarlet cord in the window.
Yeah.
Now, let me know when this lack of faith is coming soon. So go, you better read the next verse and tell me about this.
All right. And that word for scarlet, the word for cord,
yes,
is a word that also means hope.
Wow.
Which is interesting.
That's a little bit of a pearl.
Yeah. Should we make that the word of the week? Let's make that the word of the week.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so the root is qoof-vav-hei, and tikvah means, in this case, a cord or some kind of a rope, but it also means hope.
Throw me a cord of hope.
Yeah. And so, for example, we read it, was it in Isaiah, or recently we read a thing about the entrance to hope, petach tikvah. And that's that same word.
There's something else about the word tikvah.
Yeah.
Is it the name of this? That's
the national anthem of Israel. It's called HaTikvah, the hope.
HaTikvah, the hope.
The hope, the red string.
Yeah, the red
rope. I don't know.
Isn't that
there might be something to that.
Can you sing that?
No,
that's okay. No, I was just kidding.
Nefesh Yehudi homia ulefate mizrach. He's going to stop me.
No. I'm waiting for when the tone change comes.
Ayin Letzion Sophia.
Hit it, Nehemia. Ready?
Od lo avda tikvatenu HaTikvah bat shnot alpayim להיות עם חופשי בארצנו בארץ ציון בירושלים דם 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 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו בארץ ציון בירושלים.
You know what? That's the first time you have ever taken a song and didn't change the key. I'm impressed.
I don't even know what a key is.
No. Usually what you'll do is you'll sing a song, and then you'll go into a completely different key. But you actually sang that song in key.
It's the key to hope. I don't even know what a key is. A key is some kind of singing thing?
We're not even going to edit it out. That was really good, Nehemia. Seriously. You got to give a translation for that.
Yeah.
They departed and came to the hill country, remained there 3 days until the pursuers returned. And the pursuers had sought them all along the road, but had not found them. Mm-hmm. We're getting to the key here. Ready?
Yeah.
Because I'm waiting for it.
Uh-huh.
Then the two men returned and came down from the hill country and crossed over and came to Joshua, the son of Nun. And they related to him all that had happened to them. Mm-hmm. Now I'm still waiting for the verse. Then they said to Joshua, surely the land is too big, and we cannot go there, for the giants are there. No, they said to Joshua, surely Yehovah has given all of the land into our hands. Moreover, all the inhabitants, even through the words of the prostitute Rahab, have told us that they have melted away before us. Mm-hmm. Where is their lack of faith? Why are you so tough on these two guys?
They don't know that Yehovah has given it to them until they hear what she has to say. They're quoting her. They're almost verbatim. They learned from this prostitute, we're going to win.
So that's where they learned it from. They didn't learn it from Joshua?
Apparently
Joshua didn't select them, handpick these two guys?
Apparently
because he had known before what had happened when they sent the 12.
So.
He picks these two and he says, look,
I don't
guys,
think so.
You guys are my right hand.
I think Joshua's nervous. He doesn't.
You got to be kidding.
He says, look, I've never had a situation like this. I've never had a battle like this. We were attacked a few times, but we've never. We had the Sichon and Og thing. That was with Moses. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. Maybe if these people have the confidence and they can stand up against us, maybe we'll fail. And they go in and they find out the people, their hearts have melted. And they know, even the prostitute in the inn knows that Yehovah has given it into their hands. And if that's the case, they've got no chance. That's how I'm reading. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Okay. Well, we have a disagreement on this. I think that they're the Joshua generation, and they went in and they saw the land, and they came out and reported about the land. And I think he's following right in the spirit of what was told to Joshua. Do not let the book of the law depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do all that's written in it. Then you will make your way prosperous. You will have success. Be strong and courageous, Joshua. Be strong and courageous. And he told those two, be strong and courageous. And they came back with a good report. And you know what? I wish we were going to the next chapter. I don't know where chapter 3 is in the Prophet Pearls, but I feel like we better do another one just to show how amazing it is. But this story is amazing, Nehemia, because talking about someone who's outside of the people of Israel, who's brought in to the people of Israel. What's the biblical testimony for Rahab? Where does she show up again? Is there another example where we can see her living out the fact that
now we have to define Bible? Are we talking about the Tanakh or are we talking about the New Testament?
Well, we know it's in the New Testament. Do we have anything else in the Tanakh that she shows up?
Yeah, the Tanakh. Let's see. What do we got here? No, that's it. We're done with her, I think.
Wow.
Am I wrong? She's only in the book. There's 625 where the story is followed up and she and her family are saved. Mm-hmm. So that's the homework. Go read chapter 6 where the actual Battle of Jericho takes place and the family is saved. Mm-hmm. But then the next place she shows up is in the New Testament. Now, maybe people don't know where. Certainly the Jewish people listening to this have no idea where she is in the New Testament.
We see her in Matthew in the lineage of Jesus. Yeah.
But not in the Tanakh.
Not in the Tanakh, nope.
Okay.
Pretty amazing. Yeah. In fact, we have a couple what they call questionable situations where the women show up that are in that lineage, and they end up being Tamar, which we know. I don't know if we ever talked about that with Judah and Tamar, but also Rahab.
Well, in the original Torah Pearls, I'm sure we talked about it. Right.
So this is great. We're tonight. I will tell you something, Nehemia, and we'll probably look. We're going to turn the radio off, and we're probably going to have a little argument. I don't think we will, but we've done 2 today. I'm sure you want to do some more, but we're here in the city of Jerusalem during Purim. We've got a terrorist attack that took place. We started out with that. I will tell you how I'm feeling. I don't tend to take the approach that says because they're out there, it's a bad time to be there. Actually, say I like to enter in with the community and the reality while they're going through it. So. Can we go down into to the city right now where all this activity is taking place? Can we take a break and do that? Would you be willing to go with me on Purim down into the old city of Jerusalem? I mean, how often do you get a chance to do that? Now, again, we've been working hard, and I'm asking on the radio here. Would you get on the bus with me? I know this is a day where people would say, "Stay in your homes." Don't go out. The terrorists they're on the move. I say exactly the opposite. This is a time where I say we're under siege. Guess what? This is the land that Yehovah is choose. This is Jerusalem. And on this day, I want to say to the terrorists, here I am. Okay, I'm here. I just want to know if I can have you come with me. That's all I want to know.
Target the Methodist.
Okay. Well, can I pray?
Please.
Father, may we be like Joshua. Help us to be strong and courageous and not be afraid, but to go into the city and take the land. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. We don't take it as a small thing. I want to say today for those 5 people that are, many of them, whether they're in the hospital or not in the hospital or in some process of healing, we pray that you would bring them back to a place where they can be healed and be able to do their work. Thank you for the many people that are protecting those of us that are here. This is a city that's in a difficult situation, and yet at the same time, in your word it says, I think in English it says pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but I think in Hebrew it says ask. And the word and to ask, we're asking for peace, we're asking for protection, we're asking for your intervention on behalf of your people that are here from all over the world that have been brought here. You've planted them here. We pray for safety. We pray for Jerusalem to be the shining light that it is to be. And while we're here, help us to be ambassadors of that light. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to Prophet Pearls with Nehemia Gordon and Keith Johnson. For more information, please visit nehemiaswall.com and bfainternational.com.